Why is she an X-Men on a pirate ship with finger tattoos working for the enemy? Kitty was trying to find her authentic self. Her moments with all these Peters were valid, and that's the definition of bisexuality. It's so good. In this week's Exceptional X-Men #1 from Eve Ewing, there will be a moment so audacious, so stunning, so brave, it will leave your mouth agape. They've finally done it. They're turning an X-Men character bisexual that's been kind of queer-coded, I guess. Or what do they call it? Queer baiting for years at this point. And we're finally going to get it canonically confirmed. The scoop came out from Bleeding Cool. Exceptional X-Men #1, Kitty Pryde finally comes out as bisexual. It's going to change the way you feel about X-Men. It's going to change the way you feel about Kitty Pryde. We've literally, and I do mean literally, never ever seen a moment like this in comic books because it's so bold, it's so daring that nobody in the history of comic books would ever dare take such an action. But finally, we have Eve Ewing on the scene doing the third flagship title for X-Men. Exceptional X-Men making a bold choice that nobody ever would have considered with Kitty Pryde in the future of the character. The big scoop coming out from Rich Johnston. Let's get to the bottom of what's going on here. In this week's Exceptional X-Men #1 by Eve Ewing, the sexuality of the X-Men character Kitty Pryde will be made clearer than before. Kitty Pryde now will be on a date with a woman, or at least she would have been if she hadn't been stood up. Nevertheless, her gender is made quite clear, and 40 years of teasing will be over. Just about. Eve Ewing is no coward. Abso-damn-lutely. I salute Eve Ewing. Thank you very much, man, for having the cojones to go out there and make a Marvel or DC superhero come out as bisexual. We've literally never seen anything like it. This is going to create waves throughout the entire comic book reading community. We will all open our arms up, hold hands, sing Kumbaya together because it's finally happened. We have a bisexual character in the Marvel Comics universe. We have a bisexual character in the X-Men universe. Although I do believe I've seen this same article before, but like 4 or 5 years ago. We will get to that. And I will tell you, I have actually read Exceptional X-Men #1. And I'm going to give you spoilers right now. It will not be featured on Best of the Week. It's a pretty bad comic book. I will be making Doc review this with me for Worst of the Week, so you'll have to wait till next Monday to see it. And the entire, what I'm not going to call bisexual experience, it's the barista experience. That's what you're going to get in Exceptional X-Men #1, which includes Kitty Pryde not exactly being stood up. I don't think Rich Johnston actually read the book because she doesn't get stood up. She tries to go out on the date. She's like, wait, I'm supposed to be out on a date with a woman. Can you believe it? I'm bisexual, to let the reader know that you're doing something so stunning and brave. But then she remembers, silly me, the date was actually scheduled for tomorrow. I wasn't stood up. I was just actually out on the wrong night. So silly me. And then she ended up having to work, so she had to cancel it. So that's what really happened, because apparently the full barista experience includes flaking out on a date with someone of the same gender, which is just so amazeballs. We've never seen anything like this. And why did I say the full barista experience? I mean it. She's making frappes, she's making lattes, she's making coffees, and she's absolutely miserable. She hates her job. It turns out being a barista isn't quite as exciting as drinking a pumpkin spice latte. While it seems fun when you're in the Starbucks, and it seems like an enviable position, then they must have the best job in the world. They get to drink coffee all day. Turns out the job actually sucks. The only thing Eve Ewing could do to make this more of a full barista experience is if she got like an eyebrow piercing. I think that would make it the full barista experience. And then the weird nose thing. You remember when you had livestock when you were a kid? I grew up in the country, so I remember seeing it. When you tagged the pig with like the septum thing, for some reason nowadays, baristas and some other chicks are actually wearing that like it's cute or something. That would make it more like the full barista experience, but it's really damn close. That, and she would probably have to dye her hair bright green or something really stupid like that. If you've ever wanted to see just how miserable it is to be a barista, go read Exceptional X-Men #1. That's probably the highlight of the book. One of the few. It's not very good. But as I mentioned, I thought I had seen this headline before. I was investigating. I was like, wait, I think I've read a very similar article to this that was explaining to me that making Kitty Pryde, canonically bisexual, was very important and things would never be the same again. And it turns out I was correct. I went back in the Wayback Machine and I found this article from the year of our Lord 2020. You won't believe it. Kitty Pryde is now canonically bisexual, and why that matters, stating it wasn't until September 2020's Marauders number 12 by writer Jerry Duggan that Kitty Pryde's bisexuality was actually confirmed. She kisses a girl, a beat that happens because Kitty, on countless occasions in the last 5+ years, had to ask herself, who am I? And she was tired of running away from the answer. Why was her romantic timing with Star-Lord never right? Why did she leave Colossus at the altar? Why is she an X-Men on a pirate ship with finger tattoos working for the enemy? Kitty was trying to find her authentic self. Her moments with all these Peters were valid, and that's the definition of bisexuality. It's so good. But she needed to figure herself out before she could accept love from a man or a woman. With so few bisexual characters in superhero comic books, and even fewer bisexual coming out stories, it makes it that much more important to Kitty Pryde's bisexuality to continue to be visible. And that's why it mattered when it happened in 2020 in Marauders number 12, which apparently was memory hold not only by the readers, but the media as well. They forgot that she was already canonically bisexual. It was so important when it happened. And I love that article. And you do remember, she certainly had a weird crush on Colossus, and they even dated for a while. But like the first time they kissed, you know what I'm saying? It's a different time, but it ain't that long ago. I think Kitty was 13 and Colossus was like 19. It was some creepy shit. I love Chris Claremont, but he's got some weird stuff that he liked to weave in there. Along with some other writers. A lot of other writers would let really weird, like little fetish type things creep into their material. So I always thought that one was weird. Certainly she had a relationship with Peter Quill, Star-Lord. In another multiverse, I believe in the Ultimate Universe, she dated Peter Parker. So apparently she does have a thing for Peters, but just like the name, not the appendage or whatever. But really, she was always supposed to be with chicks, which makes sense, I guess, because, we did certainly see when Kitty was a younger girl and she would have pillow parties, there was a lot of tickling. There was a lot of petting, and maybe the hugs lasted too long. And now she's finally come out as bisexual 4 years after she actually came out the first time as bisexual. So there you go. Why it was so important that everyone forgot about it. And we're doing finally a coming out story for a bisexual character, because I've literally, and I'm not even joking, I've never seen this in comic books. Like I said, this is audacious stuff. I never saw John Kent come out to his mother. I never saw John Kent come out to his grandparents. I never saw John Kent come out to Crypto. I never saw John Kent come out to Metropolis. I never saw John Kent come out as bisexual to his father. And I certainly never saw John Kent come out as canonically bisexual to the entire DC universe. This is literally uncharted territory. This has literally never happened, and worthy of the headlines that we're receiving once again 4 years after the first time it happened. And why, like, Eve Ewing is no coward. She's literally doing the same thing that everyone else is doing. And now that she's done this, they can't fire her, because if they did, because the numbers weren't good or she wasn't doing a good job, she'd be like, you just hate gay people. You don't support the LGBTQ community. And now you're firing me because of that. And then we're like, oh my goodness, we love the LGBT community. Look at what we did for Pride Month. We love the gays. Look at all of our gay characters. She's like, nope, you fired me after I turned your character gay. This is like fucking insurance for her job. It's leverage. Now she can't be messed with for a couple of years at least. And then she'll turn another character bisexual that we never saw coming. Of course, I think a lot of people certainly did see Kitty Pryde coming out as bisexual. We do have some interviews with past creators that I thought were equally as hilarious as the article from, I believe that was Newsarama. And thank you very much, Newsarama. I do need a good laugh every once in a while. What was my favorite line? Oh, oh, this is so good. Why is she an X-Men on a pirate ship with finger tattoos working for the enemy? Kitty was trying to find her authentic self. Her moments with all the Peters were valid, and that's the definition of bisexuality. Oh my god, you can't make stuff like that up. Somebody needs an Eisner for that son bitch, because that's a winning moment right there. But to getting to the old stuff, because that was new shit 4 years ago. In 2016, Chris Claremont stated that Kitty's true love was meant to be Rachel Summers, and he had prepared the way specifically with scenes with Saturnine posing as Courtney Ross and Excalibur back in the 80s. In 2020, John Byrne said, "Even when we were working together, I grumbled that all of Chris's female characters were bi." Alan Davis also talked about Saturnine's relationship with Kitty that he co-wrote and continued solo into Excalibur, saying, "Although I knew Chris had some plans for Saturnine to corrupt Kitty and that the various cross-time versions of Saturnine were attracted to Kitty, I had no idea what, if any, the goal of the relationship was to be. I just played it off as a lesbian affair. Kitty, the innocent victim of a wicked woman. I thought all of this scheming was just a ruse to keep Kitty interested." And I love the fact that we're like celebrating Chris Claremont's like vaguely disguised fetish, that he really thinks bisexuality is really cool on his chick. So he kept like throwing that like little layer, or at least, hinting at it on his characters. And even John Byrne, I can imagine being like, "Come on, Chris, we need to find a new fetish, man. We keep doing the same shit over and over." And this isn't nothing to do with anything we're talking about here now. But I love John Byrne for a lot of reasons. Obviously, his work on Fantastic Four, Superman, X-Men, Sublime, She-Hulk. John Byrne is an absolute legend. And I love the fact that he could have played Teen Wolf's dad in the movie with little to no prosthetics. He just kind of looks like the guy. And I've always found that absolutely fascinating about the man, that he kind of looks like a cuddly werewolf. But I think it's absolutely awesome. And I'm not saying that John Byrne is not a handsome man. He's a devilishly handsome man. I just think it's really cool that he looks like the dad from Teen Wolf without really trying. And I think that's really dope. But calling Chris out and being like, "Dude, do we have to make every character bi?" And of course, we do know that Chris Claremont had lots of ideas for characters that he kind of put in there, never really worked with. And a lot of times his editorial support would be like, "You know what, Chris, this might not be the right idea for the character. We might need to drop that one." The best example I can give is that he wanted Mystique to be the dad of Nightcrawler and then have Destiny be the mom. And then his editor, probably Wheezy, was like, "That's kind of a bad idea. Let's not do that. Let's just let Destiny be the mom and move on with their lives." And then we had Cy Spurrier come back and try to recreate the original bad idea that Chris Claremont had. And we got the Legend of the Butt Baby. Blue 52, remember that one when it was so good. He put the helmet on the doctor. It looked like he was trying to take a fucking snap in the Super Bowl. So Chris had some bad ideas. Is this a bad idea? I don't know. I don't really care about Kitty Pryde. Certainly she's had lots of relationships with dudes, but she hasn't been in a ton of like serious relationships. We don't always see her, thinking about men and all that stuff the way we certainly did about Bobby Drake, which certainly caused a lot of upheaval. And I like the fact that Alan Davis, who's completely underrated, by the way, people should be giving Alan Davis a lot more credit than he gets. It's like, yeah, I knew he was going to do something weird. I just played it off as lesbians. This older lesbian is really trying to corrupt this young lady. And that means now she's going to come out as canonically bisexual. And we're all going to celebrate this old white dude's like weird fetish that he kept throwing onto his characters. But this is amazing stuff. It's literally like nothing we've ever seen before. Kitty Pryde is finally canonically bisexual in the Marvel Comics universe. We never had a hint at this. We never knew it could have happened, even though we got the same exact article 4 years ago talking about it. And all the goddamn thumbs up from the Apple here. Let's do this one. There we go. We've got some confetti in here to celebrate. Finally, we have a bisexual character in mainstream superhero comic books. Eve Ewing is no coward. She's stunning and brave, equal parts. And this is absolutely going to be amazing. I personally would suggest skipping this comic book, not just because of that. That's probably not the worst thing in there, but the full barista experience, and then the one crazy lady that tries to kill a dude, not exactly good stuff. And I don't think a lot of people will be singing the praises of Exceptional X-Men #1. And Doc and I will be talking about just how bad it is on Monday, and that's going to be a lot of fun. I do hope you appreciate what I'm doing here, trying to provide a little bit of honesty to comic books, but also a little bit of humor, having some fun with this, because it is so absolutely ridiculous right now. If you would like to support that and what I'm trying to bring here, I do suggest you go visit me on Thinking Critical Patreon. There's a link in the video description. Got lots of awesome bonus stuff in there. We got podcasts, we got videos, we got polls, all that kind of stuff. If you're interested, come and see me.